Where are the low value men? Like, what are all the low value men up to during these trying times? Because the high value men, I know they're around. They won't shut the fuck up. Low value men, I have not heard a word out of. I'm starting to think I'm on their side. I think I want one of those. I want a low value man. They don't make podcasts. I haven't seen one low value man make a podcast. Do they not know how to use microphones? Maybe that's a good thing. That's hot. All right, I've never seen a man use a microphone for good.
Until now, everybody buckle up. It's low value mail time with your host, Danny Polishchuk. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to an all new episode of Low Value Mail on this Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, in the year of our Lord. Still don't know which one. But we'll figure it out. One day we will eventually figure it out. We got episode 66 of Low Value Mail, and boy, am I excited for this one. Joining us today, we have Matt Landman. Matt is a filmmaker that has gained recognition as a leader in 5G and geoengineering chemtrail awareness activism. Because, you know, we have a lot of people. We've been getting some cool guests, and this is the one where I go, I want to get someone to just finally set me straight, or at least, you know, let's hear the argument for the chemtrail stuff, right? So he presents unprecedented, view-changing information directly from official documentation and accepted research. He created the social change documentary Frankenskies, bringing awareness to ongoing atmospheric aerosol injections, chemtrails, weather modification programs, and geoengineering. And he's a regular on a little show called Coast to Coast AM, which I was just talking to him. He was on last night, if you were able to catch him. And he is here for you and us today. So we're going to bring him on shortly. Just got to get a little housekeeping out of the way, as always. So before anything, please like, subscribe, leave a review, a rating, whatever, all that stuff. And we're doing the new Aftershow format. So we had, did we have a show last week? Yeah, we had a show last week. And then the Aftershow got actually oddly cut off, like right during the intermission between the main show and the Aftershow, because it was all in one stream. It got, I don't know what happened. Streamlabs just crashed. So then I had to make a new after show. But then I got all these copyright things that blocked the whole stream for like 3 days. So for people to rewatch it. So I think the move here and what I'm going to be doing is the after show is still public, but it's going to be on a separate link. So immediately after this ends, I will fire up the other stream. So you can just hop on over there, and it'll be a public stream, and then we'll be starting at 11 p.m. As always, sign up if you want to become a supporter of the show. You get all sorts of stuff. You get to be a mod for the after show, which gives you a little blue wrench. If you see people who have blue wrenches, that means they are supporters of the show. Allows you to post links to the videos that we're going to watch that will inevitably get the stream copyright claimed and potentially taken down. You get a special call-in number, you know, priority on reading comments and stuff like that. And also, this is a recent thing. So if you were an audio listener, the show now has ads. I'm sure if you're listening to this on Spotify or whatever, there's not a lot of ads, but there's like a couple ads. If you want an ad-free experience, ad-free audio experience now, I will also be providing that for the show. If you just sign up, it's as little as $5 a month. Also, I found out today that the 800 number that I got for the Scroats via Zoom, which has been literally a nightmare in my life, dealing with Zoom, maybe the worst customer service on the face of the earth. Anyways, the 800 number that I thought was, I was real sharp getting that 800 number. I was like, yeah, this thing's only $20 a month. It's way more than that. It's well over $100 a month. So if you want to support the show, that would be cool. If not, whatever. I don't even care anymore. Tomorrow night, we might not have a bathhouse. We might have a bathhouse. We might not have a bathhouse. There was no bathhouse last week due to act of God. The capture card broke. Good stuff. Good stuff. But anyways, there might not be a show. There might be a show tomorrow night, but Dave Chappelle also might be at the stand tomorrow night. So there might not be a show, at which point it might be on Thursday, and it also might not. I don't know. This is the kind of tight ship I run. And then if you live near Poughkeepsie, New York, July 7th, I'll be headlining at Laugh It Up Poughkeepsie. And next week, we are going to be joined by Isaac Weishaupt. I hope I pronounced that correctly. That is going to be our guest next week. And then the following week after that, we're going to have Sam Tripoli. So we got some fun ones lined up in the hopper, ready to go. Without further ado, I'm gonna bring on our guest, and we are gonna get this parte starte. Duh. Hold on a second, everybody. Hold on. It does not have to look at my horrible. Hey, what's up, Matt? 1 second. Okay. Sorry, got to do everything myself as always. And no, that didn't work. Hold on. Sorry, Matt. 1 second, please. Fun stuff. Okay, there we go. Matt Landman, can you hear me, sir?
Hello.
Hey, welcome to Low Value Mail. I appreciate you joining us on this Tuesday night. Thank you for coming on the show. So I gave people a little bit of your bio. You're a filmmaker. Is that what you kind of your background is in filmmaking?
Ooh, my background, like as a person or as
no, just like professionally. Like did you go to school for filmmaking, stuff like that?
I did go to school. So I went to school. I'm from Virginia. I went to Virginia Tech, and I got a bachelor's degree in marketing management, like a business degree.
Okay.
Then I went to Cal State and got a master's in business. And when I was going there, I went to film school as well. I'm a business dude. You know, I've had like 40 different jobs, and generally they've been business oriented. But I did get the film degree, and I did make the documentary, and now I'm an activist.
Cool. So, all right. So I'm trying to think of the best first question here. I guess tell us. So you're obviously a big proponent of. I guess tell people what exactly are chemtrails.
Chemtrails are aerosolized components, generally metallics, so generally aluminum or barium, strontium, aluminized, aerosolized aluminum or aerosolized metallics that are sprayed from airplanes, and they resemble persistent linear cirrus clouds out of the back of the engines of jets, often misunderstood as contrails, condensation trails.
Okay, and so And now, do they come from separate, like, are they coming from separate planes, or is that just like whenever we see any of that in the air, those are chemtrails always? Or is there a distinction between the two?
So where I live in Ashland, Oregon, which is basically Northern California, it's like 10 miles north of the California border. Where I live, there's an airport, an international airport just north of me. And all the planes that go into the international airport that are normal air traffic, they ain't never got nothing coming out the back ever, ever, ever. No matter how high up they go and whatever they do, there's nothing coming out the back. But the planes that don't go towards the airport, that are going towards some anonymous location, you know, I don't even know what, 50 miles over there or something, those planes, which I think are drones, and like, you know, you asked that question, I don't know everything, like I can't, you know, say, but generally speaking, the commercial jets are not spraying. Some people say they do, but I mean, who's to say that it's not something disguised as like, you know, who's to say a plane doesn't have a FedEx logo on it and it's spraying, you know, I'm not up there, but generally speaking, what I witness are unmarked drones, unmanned, unmarked drones doing the spraying. And then the commercial jets have what are called high bypass turbofan jet engines. And we can talk about these engines. We could talk about them for an hour, you know, we could talk about these engines for a minute, but what they are they're pushing air over the wing, and it's not hot, like that's the big misconception, is that it's really superheated air making those trails. It's not hot air. And then you don't have what people think are contrails. So anytime you see a line coming out of the engines, there's something being sprayed up there. So
That's
it's like,
essentially some sort of metal, like
well, that it's not necessarily metal. Sometimes it's lithium, which is, I guess that's not really a metal. And then there's other things like they'll experiment with different things. But generally speaking, it's metal, which they can use to heat. So here's the deal. You remember growing up when you're flipping through and you see the Weather Channel and there's like H's and L's that's moving around the weather. Those are, you know what I mean? Those
yeah.
H's and L's. The H's and L's are high and low pressure. So low pressure is like air dropping, and the H's are air going up, like hot air. And so to control the weather, they have realized that they can make those H's by spraying metallics and then superheating them with microwaves, basically ground-based stations that intersect microwaves in the atmosphere. It started off as this antenna array called HARP, but now they're not just in Alaska, now they're all over the world, and they're making high pressure systems by spraying aluminum in the air basically and then superheating it with microwaves.
And the purpose is for like literally controlling the weather?
Control the weather, yeah.
Okay.
So if you watch my documentary Frankenskies, it starts off in 1920s, and it goes through the whole chronological timeline. And by the time you get to the 60s and Lyndon B. Johnson, he's literally grinding his teeth, bro. And he says, control the weather, control the world. And his eyes are all beady. And then like JFK gets capped like a year later and he takes over the world, and they control the weather, control the world ever since then. So yeah, that's the main shtick. But chemtrails is not just limited to that, because different things can be sprayed. Like in my movie Frankenskies in the late 70s, this reporter did this whole investigation and uncovered that radioactive zinc, cadmium sulfide was sprayed in the ghettos of St. Louis to see how many kids would get cancer. You know, just experiment on the people, because
it's just general experimenting.
Yeah, general experimenting. So we think every time we see the lines in the sky, oh, that's just the planes. So then, therefore, they can get away with just about effing anything, because they can throw those lines up there. And we don't think anything of it, so they can put anything, really.
And I mean, we know that
with like,
yeah, like we know geoengineering is obviously a real thing. Like there's lots of governments that do it, even admit to doing it.
Oh, they're admitting it now, yeah.
Yeah, they're admitting it now. I remember during I think the Beijing Olympics, that was one thing, because they had so much smog and they were like seeding clouds to basically like, you know, clear up the smog, because it was like such a smoggy city and they just didn't want that while people were around.
Yeah, that actually happened. That was public knowledge, you know. So there's tidbits in the mainstream where they're like, oh, Dubai made lightning and made it rain, and China, blah, 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 and we made it rain during Vietnam, you know, but they never say anything like local and current, because if they did, we'd start to scratch our heads and be like, why don't you make it rain on forest fires? Why don't you dissipate this hurricane? Why don't you make it rain on these drought-stricken farms? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? What are you guys doing? You're actually being evil. You're being evil with your tool belt.
Yeah.
You know?
And who is these are just governments essentially?
Who is the they? Everyone. Okay.
Who is they? Yeah. Famous Kanye.
So that's how many times am I going to get asked that one? I mean, I'm sorry, not to be rude. So people want to know, especially with a topic like this, people want to know the who, what, why, where, when, how. And I think it's mainly because they don't want to sound dumb when their friends start asking them questions about it. So they can't convey the message unless they know all the answers. The they is a very deep level question. So I'd have to sit. So here's the real answer to the they. First, you have to know who you're speaking to. Okay. Am I speaking to my grandmother? Am I speaking to, you know, whoever? And then you got to meet them where they're at. And the they is so deep. It's the devil, bro. It's the devil, man. I mean, it's the Rothschilds. It's whoever made the Federal Reserve. It's the New World Order, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2050 folks. It's, you know, Ben Bernanke and
Sure.
Donald Trump.
It's just all of them, I guess.
Yeah, Bill Gates.
Okay.
Bill Gates, bro. It's Bill Gates. Actually, it's Bill Gates.
Yeah. How did you get in? So how'd you get into this?
So let me further answer the who.
Sure.
So NASA, I just looked it up. Their daily budget. Anybody on the daily budget of NASA? $88 million per day.
I was gonna guess 100 actually.
Ooh, oh, well done. So per day, bro, per freaking day. And they're always like, we need more money. It's like, because their budget was like $40 million a day when I was giving these presentations a few years ago, dude. And that was a big number for me. And now it's double that. So they have a chemtrail program called CARE, C-A-R-E, and they don't really care. And it stands for Charged Aerosol Release Experiment. And they spray aluminum, barium, and strontium, and they make noctilucent clouds, quote unquote. And they use the atmosphere as the laboratory, a quote from NASA. So they can easily be like, it's NASA.
Sure. And what does NASA say that they're doing when they do that stuff?
Experimenting.
Or to what end, I guess, because I'm sure they're not like, oh, we're trying to give everybody cancer, right? Like they probably have some sort of explanation.
If at this stage in the game, they'd be like, geoengineering, because global warming, we gotta save your ass. But like, if you asked them that question 5 years ago, they'd probably be like, But right now, anybody could say, oh, geoengineering, because climate change is so bad and global warming is so bad that we have to dim the sun,
right?
By making this greenhouse layer of aluminum, which is the most stupid.
And is that actually what they're purporting to do? Is they're trying to literally dim the sun?
So geoengineering is dimming the sun. Yes, literally, like the Matrix, but not so bad. What was the question that you asked just now before I skipped?
Oh, how did you get into it? But we can come back to that.
Oh yeah, that's a longer story. Yeah. So the dimming of they say they want to increase the albedo, ALBEDDO, which is the reflectivity of the atmosphere by making an artificial cloud layer and bouncing some light back into space. But anytime I witness chemtrails, what it does is it traps heat, and it shreds the ozone, and it makes things worse and not better. And it's the problem all the way. Like they claim, oh, we don't know why there's this, that, and the other, but it's all geoengineering. It's all chemtrails. And then they say, oh, we got a solution. It's chemtrails, geoengineering. It's like, come on, you can't give us the problem as a solution. We're not that dumb, are we? But maybe we are.
I mean, some people are. Some people.
Yeah. How I got into it.
Yeah, so how'd you get into it?
So Matt, Landman, me, I'm a normal ass dude. Like I just wanted to live in California and make movies, ideally, yeah. And I lived in Northern California. I got out of grad school and I got some another office job, bro. It sucked. And then I finally just got this opportunity to work on an organic farm.
Okay.
And while working on the farm, I knew I didn't even know much. I didn't even know that inoculations were bad, really. I didn't even know that. But I knew about GMO foods. I knew a little bit about fluoride, maybe. I definitely knew about 9/11 because of documentaries. That was what was really cool. But I definitely had not even heard the word chemtrails, bro, when I was 32.
Really?
And then, yeah.
You never even heard them, just kind of anecdotally, just kind of...
No, and I witnessed it firsthand. I witnessed weather engineering while working on this farm. I witnessed this whole storm get quelled and to keep this drought up. And all these planes showed up and grid the sky, and the storm didn't drop any rain.
And this is what the state of California was doing this at the time?
Who was doing it?
Well, I guess, are you saying you knew that they were, you saw it happening, or are you
I witnessed something. I witnessed in a place where there's no air traffic. I witnessed this big black storm cloud come off the ocean. We were about to get 1 week of rain, and then 20 planes showed up and got all crazy with leaving lines and in and out of this storm cloud. And I thought I was going to be drenched out there harvesting pumpkins, and instead it didn't rain. And the storm just went over, and I literally had no reference point. And then a week later, my homie on the phone was like, yeah, chemtrails though. And I was like, what the heck is that? And he's like, yo, you don't know about chemtrails? Go look it up. And then I put the pieces together, but I had no clue. But I witnessed it firsthand is the story. And then I realized that I did not have any clue, and nobody had any clue. And everybody that I talked to was like, deer in the headlights, what are you talking about? And anybody who I did come across who had heard the word, all they knew that it was a crazy conspiracy, and that you're, conspiracy theory, and that you're an idiot to think that they would be doing that. But what was really smart with the controllers of the dialogue, of the narrative, of the information, they got everyone thinking that we thought that chemtrails were the government spraying us like bugs, like let's just exterminate the people. And that is such a outlandish thought, that they would just be always spraying us with poison. But controlling the weather makes a lot more sense.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Controlling the weather makes a lot more sense than they're spraying us with Raid because we're cockroaches,
Yeah.
So then you start to put the whole puzzle together, and you're like, oh, it's a longer term agenda where the food supply, and okay, I see it now, But we were none the wiser, and now it's becoming normalized that as you try to wake people up to like, oh, well, they're doing it for good now. It's like, finally you're looking up, and now you're telling me it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Just the geoengineering and like the weather stuff, essentially.
Well, the chemtrails right now, like if finally people will wake up to the chemtrails in the sky, they've normalized it so much to say that they're going to be doing the geoengineering, which is chemtrails.
Yeah.
So
like,
what
is there geoengineering that's not chemtrails?
Well, it's a loose term because you can like geoengineer the ocean by like changing the you can like do ocean no geoengineering is changing the sky with spraying of particles to increase the reflectivity. That's the overall terminology. There's another geoengineering that has to do with the oceans, but it's not really used, and that's another confusion tactic. The geoengineering that's used 99% of the time is this whole chemtrails shtick, where they're gonna save us from our doings.
Sure.
Which we exhale carbon. How many times have you exhaled during the show so far? Shame on you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's our fault. And then they, guilt trip us, and they're like, yeah, and you eat burgers? Those cows fart. Shame on you again. We got to create 15-minute cities, New World Order agenda, dim your sun with chemtrails to slow down the heating of the planet because you're all going to be underwater. Remember what Al Gore said.
Yeah. And is this happening does America lead the way in chemtrails, or is other countries doing this as well?
Lead the way. It's been so bad in like Germany and the UK the whole time, but they're just a more concentrated, easier area. The US is a big ass country with lots of microclimates and all this stuff, and they, maybe they don't even need to spray Wyoming that much because it's not that much in a jet stream pattern or whatever their agenda is at the time. You can't really get away from it in North America now, but basically US, Canada, and UK and Europe lead the way.
Oh, okay. Were they? I'm actually from Canada. Do you think that had anything to do with the wildfires? I saw someone drop that question, but
yeah, I did a show last night, Coast to Coast AM, and we talked about this exact topic. It was actually the topic of the 2-hour long radio show. We got callers and all that sort of stuff, and talked about the fires big time.
Nice.
And yes.
Yeah, we're gonna open the phone lines up in probably 5 minutes. So
cool.
if people have questions, we can definitely get you to them. So I have a question from one of the supporters. His name's Maxime. He says, "What are the limits of geoengineering rain? Can they make it rain nonstop in a region like the desert? Just like never-ending rain, or is it still?"
Okay, so in the desert, if there's like a completely blue, clear sky, I'm upon the understanding that there's still moisture up there, and they have technology now with lightning. They've had this for decades now, where they can use lasers. With lasers, they can shoot lasers into the sky and make it freaking rain with it. Hardly anything up there. Can they make it rain for days? No. Can they steer a jet stream? So the weather is like this moving river. So the jet stream, as they call it, they also call it an atmospheric river. So in the atmosphere, there's like a layer of the atmosphere where it's like a flowing freaking river of moisture, and it's always flowing. And so in the ionosphere, and so they bend this river, and they'll like when Texas got hit with that crazy ice storm a couple of years ago, it was like bending the ionosphere to whip up to Canada and get cold and then come slamming down. And so if you steered the jet stream properly to the desert, then yes.
Okay. And back to the fires actually. So what is the relation there between chemtrails and the forest fires in Canada? Or do you think it's the government of Canada?
So the relation is very much cause and effect. So for one, the lightning and all of the fires were caused by like geoengineered lightning storms or whatever. That's probably
Yeah.
how they got lit, aside from maybe arsons or whatever. But what is chemtrails? It's patented fire accelerants. Aluminum oxide and barium salts are fire accelerants. These fire accelerants have been sprayed on our forests for decades, and now the trees are all fire crazy, easily, and susceptible to drought and whatnot. But then also they spray and they shred the ozone, because I've got a meter that shows even when they spray, the UV goes through the roof. And so the trees are getting fried, the tips of them are getting burned, whatever. But also they make wind on top of these fires when they could make rain. So the
Right.
chemtrails control the weather. And so with the chemtrails on these fires, they're actually making wind and exacerbating them and steering the freaking smoke to New York, and then letting it just sit on New York, and then having the whole world
Yeah,
talks about it, right?
Yeah, I live in New York. It was pretty bad.
And that's a problem reaction solution thing. So they give it the whole world this problem.
And can they pinpoint the rain like that? Like if they go, there's a forest fire in eastern Canada, they could be like, we're gonna there's a way to actually seed a rain cloud. No, seed a rain cloud like just over top of it, essentially, to just put it out, like almost like a shower head or something.
For sure, yes, they can.
Like it's that pinpoint. And can they harness?
Yeah.
Are they able to harness energy? From like if you're saying that they can kind of essentially control lightning and whatnot, are they able to like harness energy in that way? I don't know what I'm talking about.
I bet that's a great question. Actually, I appreciate the good question, and I would imagine, heck yeah. I've noticed that recently, just in the past few weeks, that there's this normalization of crazy lightning storms. Just even where I live, and people say they've never seen anything like it. I think there's going to be a lot more fires this year, and they're just going to blame the lightning. But no, they know how to precipitate. In my movie, they talk about precipitating lightning with lasers, so they can from the ground with a laser, they can get the lightning to go straight down and call it in. So yeah, they could freaking
they could.
Energy.
Oh, okay.
There's so much free energy out there. They just don't want anyone to know.
Yeah. So the phone lines are open if anybody wants to call in. 1-888-949-2969. One just quick thing, Matt. When people call in, I'm gonna patch them over to us. There's gonna be about 5 seconds where you can't hear us. Just don't worry. And I have a caller right now. So 1 second, please. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for calling Low Value Mail. 1 second while I patch you through.
Sweet.
Yep. And all right, you're on with Matt. Who are we speaking with?
Oh, okay, cool. I just wanted to touch on two things there. I wanted to go back to the HARP. You guys briefly touched on HARP there. There's a video that is still in existence somehow, and it's called HARP Holes in Heaven. It's a bit of a peculiar video because it's not produced really professionally, but it actually features the creator of HARP called Dr. Eastland. I think his name is Brian Eastland.
Awesome. I'll make note of that.
And if you check that video out, you'll get a great understanding of what HARP is capable of. They actually say a lot of stuff in that video that I can't believe they said out loud. It's an interesting video.
Cool. We'll fire it up on the after show and we'll watch it.
So caller, that's interesting. And if you watch my movie Frankenskies, there's this amazing clip. Surprised that I was able to come across it. So it's a congressional hearing, and they're literally talking about HARP, and they're like, "We've done all the work we've done with it, and we've passed it on to DARPA, and DARPA's done the work with it, and now we're done with it, and we're moving on to our other technology." So now they have like a more localized HARP stations called NextRad, and NextRad is more localized, and I think it's doing similar to what HARP did, and there's a lot more of them, and they're
there's one in Australia, right?
Oh, that one's a big one in Australia. That one's gnarly. If you're talking about the one that's like this big sacred geometrical thing, and that one's huge. That's like a big HARP antenna array. But the NextRads there's like 100 scattered throughout the United States, and they look like these big golf ball kind of things. They'll call them Doppler radar, and they say that they're predicting the weather,
Right.
but they're actually steering weather patterns and controlling the weather.
That's interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I live in Northern Ontario, and I can tell you as an outdoor boy, we never saw those hex patterns, the grid patterns as a kid. That just wasn't there. And now we see them. And
What are the grid
a lot of
patterns?
people-
The chemtrails, you're saying?
yeah, I think so, because it wasn't a thing that we ever talked about or saw as kids, and now we see them all the time. And people say, well, you know what? I can see these airplanes on my a lot of people have optics, like telescopes and all sorts of stuff. And there doesn't seem to be any pods on the aircraft. But apparently what I've learned is that they actually mix in these oxides with the fuel mixture. And it actually comes out with the exhaust of the fuel, and it's not actually in these visible pods that you would say, hey, what's that on a 777 airliner? You know what I mean? Have you ever heard of that?
Like a canister? You mean pods like a canister?
Yeah, like a canister. Yeah. Sorry, I was in the military for a few years. We called them pods, but yeah.
What I've witnessed are like drones, and even NASA has a patent for barium release rockets, and these things they're full of it. There's no seats or anything like that. They're not even manned.
Oh, okay.
And what are the size of
cool.
these? What are the size of these drones, Matt?
They're pretty small. They're low to the ground too. And then we look at them and we're like, oh, those must be really high up because they're so small. It's like, no, dude, they're so, bro.
And is weather, like, is the geoengineering stuff, and like they do that at a lower altitude, or is it vary, like, depending on what they're going for?
Depends on what they're going for.
Like, are they doing that stuff like above, like high enough in the atmosphere where, you know, we can't even really see the planes? Like, is stuff going on like at those levels of the atmosphere?
No, it's relatively low, but it depends on where you're at and what they're trying to do. You know, if you're somewhere in the jet stream where they need to work with it low, like on the coast, then I mean, you're all up in it. I've lived all over the place. I've lived in Sedona, Arizona. I've lived in Vancouver, Canada. Now I'm in another unique microclimate, and it just depends on where you're at. Like in the desert, they have to lay it on thick, and they do it up high, and they gotta like paint it on and layer it and paint it on because there's not much to work with the really dry air, and they ruin those cobalt blue, like beautiful desert skies, you know, and it actually wakes people up really easy because it's all in your face in the desert, you know, but everywhere's different. But where I live, I'm on the mountain hillside, and they're really, really low compared to anything normal. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, caller?
No, sorry, I was waiting for you to kick me off the line. I just feel like I'm a part of the talk right now. Yeah. No, that's all I got. Oh, actually, I do want to say just quickly, as a Canadian right now, it's actually almost mainstream now. It's not even conspiratorial to say that these forest fires are almost hugely man-made. I mean, the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, is launching 175 investigations right now. They've already booked 30 or 40 people in the last couple of months for this. And now there's actual I thought the picture was bullshit at the beginning, but it's an actual legit NASA satellite that has all the Quebec forest fires in 20 different areas starting at once. And now we're finding out there's 200 pounds, there's a huge amount of ammonium nitrate that went missing from somewhere. And I've got it right here, CBC, 200 kilograms of commercial explosives were stolen from business in Regina in May 15th, and they have no leads. So I'm not making a connection there, but I kind of am. So that's all I wanted to say.
I mean, you almost hope that was used for those fires. I mean, I'm sure that could be a lot more nefarious uses than that. But
there's something going on in Canada for sure that needs to be looked at. If we're going to be rational, we should certainly just say there's something happening in Canada regarding these forest fires that need serious investigation, and we can leave it at that without even sounding conspiratorial. The National Post and CBC are tackling it right now, and they're a bit end of the spectrum, but they're both legit. So
yeah. All right, cool. Thanks for calling, caller.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I think I said maybe last week or some other time, but I have a friend who he works in forest firefighting in Alberta, Canada, as a helicopter pilot, and he told me, he's like, sometimes when the fire season is not that active, some of the firefighters out there will legitimately go start fires just for work.
Yeah, that is the thing. The fires are an industry. I live in the West, and it's a whole thing. I mean, to grasp that people are waiting and they need that to feed their family. It's like a whole thing. And also they need to do kind of control burns, and basically,
exactly,
they got to make a big one too. So it's wild because in California, and even politically. So check this out. Last election, right before the Trump-Biden election, I guess Oregon is like a swing agenda, some sort of
swing state.
I don't know. It's really blue, but because it's so blue, they torch themselves. We had like 100 fires lit in the city of Portland, and then like another 100 lit up and down the state, and it was all in just a few days. And it's all arsonists. So yeah, you've got people that can all get hired to light fires, and then they basically get immunity because the courts are controlled. So it's a pretty easy game when you can, control the outcome and, pitch the narrative and all that jazz. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, you're a big 5G guy as well. Is that kind of your two? How are the two things related? By the way, like how are or are they related?
Yes. So they are related. Why did I get into the two? Is I learned about how messed up 5G is. Basically, like I was working on my movie Frankenskies, and I had a smart meter. I lived in British Columbia, and to the Canadian listener, if you're still there, I interviewed Bill Vanderzam in my movie Frankenskies. It was great. I went out to his estate in Ladner, BC, and interviewed Bill Vanderzam, who was a hero because he rolled back the HST. He was like a governor of British Columbia. I think they call him.
It was the premier.
Premier, yeah, premier.
Yeah.
Oh, you know about those weird?
I'm Canadian. I'm from Canada.
You're Canadian. Where are you from?
I'm from Toronto, just outside of Toronto. But my brother lives in Victoria, so I spent a lot of time in Western Canada.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Victoria and all that area is so. It's amazing. All those islands.
Yeah,
something else. I lived on the Sunshine Coast for a while. So. Nice. So what was the question?
The 5G.
Oh yeah. So I got I was working on my movie in Sunshine Coast, Roberts Creek, which is a little cute little town. And little did I know, man, that I had a smart meter like 5 feet from me, bro. Like I'm sitting here doing my things, doing my radio shows and stuff, working on my movie.
What do you mean by smart meter?
Okay, yeah. If you don't know,
like just for like electricity.
Yeah. So this is a big conversation. So there's these meters, these utility meters that go on the side of your house, and the older versions are just this.
Yeah, they have like the pin in them. Yeah,
and people come. The meter guy comes and checks it and is like, "Okay, that's going to be your bill this month." Well, they got digital, and what they do is they wirelessly send your signal of how much electricity you've used. To like a station. It can be even 30 miles away. And so that technology came out, and that was all cool because they were only asking for the data like once a month or whatever. But then they came out with these models that are completely ridiculous. So the ones in California, for instance, the one that was next to my bedroom where I was working and sleeping, it was emitting so much radiation all the time, where it sends a signal to this hub every 6 or 7 seconds, bro. And when I was laying there trying to sleep, it was like, it was like every 2 seconds, it was like surging radiation. And I was just like feeling it. And I didn't even know. I was just getting like electrically sensitive slowly but surely. And after a few months of it, I couldn't even hold my smartphone, man. Like I don't even have a smartphone anymore because I get like heart palpitations from it because I'm sensitive now. I became electrically sensitive while
from the smart meter.
Yeah. So I was just going to be the chemtrail dude, but then while making my movie, this is kind of ironic. I guess I knew this story, but I never really painted the picture. So while making the movie, I became electrosensitive. And then I kind of just like put that on the shelf and kept doing the movie thing. But then everyone's talking about 5G all the time. So I started looking into it, and nobody was really a 5G activist like in that space. And just like how the chemtrails, when I looked into that and there was like not a good enough movie, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a movie that really explains it, that I can hand to my friends in DC that are like working for like Northrop Grumman or whoever, Booz Allen Hamilton, whatever these fucking corporate jobs that my old friends have. They're not gonna listen to me or do the research. You gotta hand them a decent documentary for them to look into something like this. So I wanted to make that for Frankenskies. So for 5G, I wanted to do something similar. And then I realized I could protect people, and I came out with a silver clothing line to mitigate the harms of it and turn that into my
Yeah, I was looking at that last night. So you essentially you have a clothing line called Spiro, I believe.
Yeah, it's doing really well. I'm leading the industry globally. There's like a dozen companies.
And how do you get silver into clothes? It's silver is what it is?
Yeah, so it's a technology that only exists in Japan, Korea, and China. And the manufacturing process is as follows. Sorry, I've just told the story a lot. So this is how they make it. They get these microfilaments of nylon. So nylon is like this little bendable plasticky. So they get these little strings, threads of nylon, like really thin thread of nylon, like fishing line, but really, really thin. And then they coat it, they dip it in Nevada silver. And so it's coated in silver, 100% silver. And then they have a thread of freaking silver. That's all silver on the outside, but it's kind of pliable. I mean, but no, it's soft and pliable. And then they weave that into a fabric. And so it's like super dense, like you can't see through it. It's like a dense silver fabric. And so it's commonplace in China. I went over there and I've talked to people, and a lot of people say yes, and you can't get a straight answer. A lot of people say that it's the law that you have to wear these silver maternity aprons when you're pregnant, because the Chinese government, communist, they don't want you to have a defective baby because they're communist, and they help their healthcare, they
need
take care of their
too.
people. So it's really popular over there, and they have maternity stuff and hats and whatever, men's underwear and whatnot. And so I realized I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I thought I was reinventing the wheel, but when I realized that they were already doing it, I was like, oh, this can actually happen. So I make a bunch of stuff.
Sorry, we got a caller. Hold on 1 second, please. Hello. Thanks for calling Low Value Mail. Hey, 1 second while we patch you through to Matt. Who am I speaking with?
Sam, San Diego.
Sam in San Diego. All right, you are on with Matt. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Hello. Good, yourself?
Thanks for coming on with the old scrote. I was wondering if you've ever talked to like a pilot who believes in chemtrails. Are there any pilots who actually admit to spreading chemtrails?
No, there's no pilots that come forward about it. I'm pretty sure now at this stage in it, it's all drones, it's all automated. I don't think I've had people want to come forward about working at the bases, but then they're like, I'm not going to risk my freaking life. But I've had people want to come forward that load the chemicals onto drones, but I don't think there's manned crafts. I think it's all drones. And I mean,
but it must have once been manned, right? At one point.
Yeah. At one point I believe that they were manned, and these people are not coming forward. And then why? Because they're on a need to know basis. They think that they're saving the world, and they, there's another reason, but they don't know enough. They think that they're doing a good thing. And I don't think whistleblowers, no. So the answer is no, but it's you would think, right? You would think that such a big program, that wouldn't somebody want to come forward and get the truth out there? I've analyzed that a lot, and it's like, I cannot promise anybody any sort of safety, and every freaking buddy knows that whistleblowers get killed, man. We don't live in a world anymore where it's just like, oh, come on over here for being, having integrity. It's like people, when they come forward, I don't know how deep in the conspiracy world anybody is, but anytime anybody comes to the listener, I mean, I don't know where you're at, but it's like I've looked into like these people who make cars that can run on water. Every time somebody makes a car run on water, even this dude in Buffalo, the Buffalo engine maker, they like did a whole false flag like public shooting and killed him. It seemed to be like a public sacrifice, even like they do
That
not.
was the shooting at the Tops at the market.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I mean is like, not only do people not come out with engines that run on water or anything like that, but like whistleblowers do not, like, what are they going to do? Come to me and like by the time they've even come to me, I don't know, I don't know why it hasn't gotten out, but there's a lot of things that don't get out, and they've been really able to keep the lid on this one, and hats off to them. There's, supposed whistleblowers, but sometimes I've analyzed them deeply, and I think that they're actually just CIA agents holding that space, because they are actually like, and if anybody else wants to blow the whistle, come on over here, I'll keep you safe. It's like, at the end of the day, I really keep to my gut instincts, and I cultivate my gut instinct, and I really try to, keep my game tight with who's who and everything like that. And it doesn't seem like anybody's really come forward. Ted Gunderson, actually the answer to your question is Ted Gunderson. God bless him. And he's easily Googled, and he's in my movie. Rest in peace. Ted Gunderson. He was an FBI chief of Dallas and Los Angeles and some other city, and he's easily looked up. He's all over the web, and he came out talking about chemtrails. He was describing planes, and that was when they were manned, and he was very vocal about it. He also started talking about child trafficking, and he was killed.
Really?
His heart exploded. He had a heart attack, but it was not a heart attack. He had a CIA heart attack gun thing. It seemed. I mean, he was really loud, and then his heart exploded.
Yeah, but yeah. Like the timing of it was suspicious, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think everyone knows that he was killed, but maybe that's worth looking into. It's like Bill Cooper.
I don't know who Bill Cooper is.
He wrote "Behold a Pale Horse," and he spoke too much, and then he died. And there's people that get too loud and then they die because, for one, and I've analyzed this too, these people that are on the inside, they've already like sold their soul. They know that if they blow the whistle, that their karma, like that, there's no the powers that be will not blink. They will totally snuff your freaking life and your families too, and they know it, because they've already sold their soul. The people that live righteous existences and try to spread truth, and they're not like the whistleblowers, and they're just doing it. I think that they're in this weird cosmic world we live in. I think that the righteous activist is in a sense kind of protected in a way, but the whistleblower, like what I'm saying is, whistleblowers already sold their soul. They can't step forward unless it's a death wish. You know?
All right. Anything else, caller?
So with that, have you had any like active threats from mainstream scientists or anything, calling you crazy?
No, but I mean, I've had a lot. My journey's been wild. So in 2018, so in 2016, I held the first annual Global Chemtrail Summit in Vancouver, Canada. Packed the house, and it's huge, big come together of activists and whatnot. Next year, we did it in Portland, and I released Frankenskies, the movie. Next year, in 2018, with this big conference in Tucson, Arizona, to go up against Bill Gates, who is doing this experiment down there to dim the sun with aluminum, pretending like it had never been done before. But there was to be this experiment, and we actually stopped them. It was a huge success. But at my conference, this dude came and totally tried to fight me, made this whole scene.
Why did he try? Was he like a rival? Like who's?
He was like a provocateur. So he was like this huge biker-looking dude, and he's like, while I'm giving my presentation, he's like yelling and waving his hands in the back. But then when I was done, and everyone was coming up trying to talk to me. He's like bumping old ladies and screaming, and he just kept screaming over and over, "He's a global shill! He's a global shill!" And then the whole thing got interrupted. He wouldn't stop. He was just yelling.
Sounds like Alex Stein.
And so he had this big styrofoam cup. He had this huge styrofoam cup in his hand, right? And he's just waving it in my face, and he wouldn't let up. Like the whole conference got interrupted by this guy. And I'm like, what do I do? Call security? What are we going to do with this guy? And then I'm like, dude, you want to take this outside or something? You're ruining my conference. Like, screw you. And I did not lay a hand on this guy, but I whacked the empty styrofoam cup out of his hand. So then finally the police come. I call the police. The police come, and they're like, "Are you Matt Landman?" I go, "Yes." I called you. Thank you for. And they're like, "You're under arrest."
Really?
I'm like, oh my God.
For what?
I'm like, get out of here for assault. I got arrested for assault.
For knocking the cup out of his hand?
Yeah, for knocking the cup out of his hand. And then he got his charge. He got charged with disturbing the peace.
And do you know who he is? Like, did you find out?
No, I had no idea. And I'm pretty positive he was hired. He was cool as a cucumber when we went to court. He just he didn't give a dude, he was hired. He was hired. So my long story is that was a shit show. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Can I curse?
All right, thanks, caller.
Thanks, Glass.
Can I curse on this show?
What's that? Bikers?
Can I say curse?
Oh, can you curse? Yeah, absolutely. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Go nuts. Go nuts. We're on YouTube and Rumble and all that stuff. So you do not need to censor yourself. All right, we got another caller. One moment, please. Hello. Thank you for calling Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, it's just another pesky globalist.
Another pesky globalist. Well, you are on with Matt. Go ahead.
Hey, man, how's it going? So all this talk of weather control, and with the previous caller talking about things to false flags and provocating all this stuff, and then trying to dissuade people like the general public being interested in looking into this stuff. But so me and Danny, we were both Jewish, and I've yet to get a memo for the upcoming weather. I don't know about Danny.
No.
And I'm still waiting for the keys and the login code for my Spice Laser, because that's my thing. But my actual question for Matt is, have you ever been tried to have your character defamed as being somewhat anti-Semitic for even implicating that weather is being controlled, not even having mentioned anything about anyone being Jewish in charge of any of these programs?
Like, you're almost like people just kind of instantly try and dismiss you. I could see people doing that too.
Yeah.
I don't recall being called anti-Semitic. I mean, honestly, I've experienced everything. So I just, and not that rings a bell, but I mean, like, you name it. And people try to provoke me into getting into this public dialogue. So like on Facebook, I've got 70,000 followers, right? And people want to provoke me into getting myself banned or bringing into this debate, this dialogue, or but not so much that. But that is something they like to throw at people to make them completely
I mean, I've had it thrown at me, and I went to Hebrew school for 9 years.
Right. Once you're thrown under the bus in that regard, it's hard to pick yourself back up. But they've said, I mean, people throw everything at me, and I just completely, I give it no energy, nothing.
Yeah.
I completely don't even give them the time of day, because
that's the way to do it generally. To be honest, that's kind of what you just got to do, is just ignore it. It almost always passes. Anything else, caller?
Yeah, I did have one other thing. So when you're talking about stuff like geoengineering, are you familiar with all of the fantasy geoengineering projects that were put in plan by that were written down as plans by the Nazis, especially in the years building up to the war? Like, for instance, they wanted to build a dam across the Strait of Gibraltar and drain the Mediterranean and turn it into farmland partially, what is it, like flood the Sahara. They wanted to, and all these people who worked in these projects basically ended up on councils for like the UN. Do you have any familiarity with such kind of things?
That's really cool and very fascinating because, that's really cool. I'm going to have to make note of that. Nazis, something, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing with the
Project
draining in
Paperclip,
the med.
yeah.
So, go ahead.
So, no, and I please want to hear what you have to say, but that makes sense because they are Nazis. This is what's going on and what's happening. And this is a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. So it's like I said before, it depends on who your audience is with who are the they, right? And who are the they is we did not even finish World War II. Like it never ended is the they. And we got psychologically tricked into this psychological war. And then this whole Operation Paperclip, they brought over all these scientists and we're like, oh, we're going to make NASA. First of all, those that know, NASA's BS and has a chemtrail program. So they brought over all these, Nazi war criminals. They made MK Ultra. They made NASA, which is the chemtrail program. And there it is. Boom. Like, yeah, they took those ideas and they went global with it and they took over the world. They're taking over the world, including the United States. And it's all really, it ends up being a transhumanism agenda, which it gets complex, but it's like if you can engineer the climate in certain regions and tell people they got to get pushed into smart cities and then get them adapting and adopting these certain narratives, and get them to become like robotic and spray these certain aluminum in them and they're more conductive or whatever. It's like it all kind of lines up with this weird takeover of humanity, but that's what the Nazis wanted. They wanted to rule everything. So thanks.
I mean, with the Nazis, it's not even just Paperclip and Werner von Braun and NASA. I mean, the first deputy directors of the UN and NATO and whoever was like the chief magistrate of the Nuremberg trials, all of them were actual Nazis from Wehrmacht and SS, but they got public roles. Oh yeah, with the 5G thing, I don't know if you ever heard this. They say that they've confirmed that within a lot of the vaccines recently given that there's graphene, and they're saying that they believe that they're gonna like try and super activate all the 5G at once to like basically like if you ever run a magnet or iron filing, they're saying that they're gonna try and do that once they're all like
yeah.
Otherwise, love the show. Keep up the great work.
All right, thanks, Colin. Yeah. So the graphene, is there any truth to that related to the 5G?
So I don't know, and there's so much I've witnessed. There's such a divide and conquer scheme going narrative where there's the CIA does get involved with these conspiracy theories, and then it's wild what they can do, man. Like the chemtrail narrative was controlled to make everybody think that all chemtrails meant was the government was spraying us and killing us, and that was so easily dismissed, whereas they're making it rain. If you would just watch and on the edge of a weather pattern, here they show up and grid the sky, people would start to think for themselves. I don't know about the graphene in the the stuff that surfaces. What I think about the jab is this: it's gene therapy. They're getting people to line up and repeatedly come in and repeatedly get these gene alterations. That's why you have to keep getting the boosters. Like the first one hardly even sticks, So they're altering people's genetics. That I do know.
Yeah.
And to what end? That's a weird slippery slope when you start to do that. Is there graphene in it? How does that play with the 5G? I think that everything comes with like a level of consent. So it's like, yeah, maybe there is a little metal in the jab and there's metal in the chemtrails and all that sort of stuff, but we have to line up and get the chip on our heads and be like, yeah, I want to be robots before we really flip the switch on us. Like, I don't think some innocent grandma who got coerced into getting a couple of these shots can get turned into a zombie when they flip on the 5G for real, or get or self-terminated or whatever. I think that some of that, and with all due respect,
Yeah.
caller, with all due respect, I think some of that is conspiracy theory gone wild to make us look a certain way. So anytime a narrative comes
Essentially
across my plate,
disinformation.
yeah, essentially, you know, all sorts of stories and narratives come across my plate, you know, and each one I think about, well, how would this look if I, you know, presented it to a random person at the farmer's market? You know, would they put me in a box or what? And sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, but sometimes the truth is just fiction.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, could you, a question I think a lot of people often have with people who are, you know, considered conspiracy theorists is there something that could come out that could change your mind about all of this? Where you go, like, is there a smoking gun one way or another in any of this stuff? You know what I mean? That you could see
Regarding chemtrails or what?
Regarding chemtrails or 5G.
Well, I mean, chemtrails takes just deep research, and then when you do the research, you watch Frankenskies, and you know, observation. You look at the sky, you can come to the conclusion that it's happening. Like there's not really like some aha smoking gun, like aliens showing up on our doorstep.
Yeah,
you know, which is BS anyways. But in the 5G, like I don't know what you mean by that, but that takes a little research too. So 5G is they're utilizing a carrier wave. So information, to back up, information wirelessly gets carried around on these waves, and these waves have different sizes. It's light, but they're carrying information on light that we can't see. Yeah, different frequencies. And so now the 5G is this super small frequency that absorbs into things that it hits, including our skin and stuff. And like the 4G, the Wi-Fi, that stuff was going through us. You know, like you can get a signal of Wi-Fi through brick, but the 5G, when it's really implemented and it's measured in millimeters, it's so small that it absorbs in everything it hits, including people. So we're getting like super radiated, and they're thinking that. Also, I'm thinking that it'll mess up people's reproductive organs. So like people that are born and raised, people that are conceived, born and raised in a 5G environment will likely not be able to procreate. And then they can really push this whole transhumanism, transfer your consciousness, live forever, become a cyborg, you know.
Isn't that everybody though? Like with the 5G's pretty ubiquitous. I mean, I imagine maybe some like developing nations or something, but for the most part, like where you live, are there not 5G towers around you?
No, not where I live.
Or not where you live.
Well, radiation is really distance is your friend, and shielding, you know, you can shield yourself. But it's like if you're walking around with a 5G phone in your pocket, then yeah, but not everyone's doing that. But
right, but won't that be the norm? Like, at some point won't it be literally every person has a 5G phone?
Well, I mean, 90%, 99%. Yeah, there's going to be people that buck the system, but they're going to make a digital currency, and everyone's going to have the like updated QR code thing on their phone. And that maybe QR code will be tattooed on their wrist too. I don't freaking know, but like, yeah, everyone's gonna have to have the beast to function. And
but so you're just saying that that'll essentially just sterilize, because I imagine if you live anywhere densely populated, like I'm in New York City, you're just like there's really no way to protect yourself. Because I imagine even you know, if you were to go get like a not smartphone or whatever, like. That only provides you, I guess you could protect yourself to a degree.
Well, there's not really any option anymore. I used to have the 3G phone. I don't have a cell phone anymore, believe it or not. And
how do you survive?
I know, right? I use my computer. I have a landline.
You have a landline?
Yeah, I do landline stuff. People call.
But like so when you go out, you just like, kind of. Right? You get lost a lot?
Nah, I got maps and stuff, but I don't really live in the city. Garmin GPS, I would get that on my, it doesn't have radiation. I would get that. So to learn about radiation, people can get like an EMF meter and see what kind of stuff they're dealing with in their house. And you'd be surprised, like if the Wi-Fi router is in the other room, you're not getting fried, you know, and if you mitigate it, you're not surrounded by it. To answer your question, people adapt. Okay. You give 100 people a 5G phone, like Verizon 5G, which is high band, which is like interacting with every phone, and the carrier wave can only send the signal like 500 feet. It's like really strong signal. It can't go very far. So you give 100 women that 5G phone and they're pregnant and it's cranking, you know, maybe half have a miscarriage, right? And then the other
That's
ones.
a lot, though. That's.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying not everybody is going to. People adapt, and the strong survive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm saying like 5G when it's turned on, which is like the real 5G is like a carrier wave that's literally like a millimeter in size, which is the width of a penny. A penny's a millimeter and a half, and this signal is bouncing off of everything. Like, and it's got self-driving cars on the network and everything, but it's got not just the phones, but like the refrigerators, the smart meter, like everything is propagating the signal because it has to. And the Internet of Things, everything has to propagate the signal because it can't go very far, and it needs all these nodes repeating the signal. And that one of those nodes is in your pocket. And when that's happening, that's such a strong soup there you're in, and it has to be just like in the city. Like you can't really have that in rural America.
Right.
That's why they want to push everyone to the city to control.
Yeah, I was wondering this, but we have a question from one of the supporters, AK. But and I don't know if there's any relation, but like is because there's probably going to be a 6G and onwards. Like does it going to get worse or like?
They talk about 6G, 7G. I've heard the words 10G and all this stuff. From my research, from what I can gather, those are all just words, and so is 5G. 5G is just a word, but like so here's the deal: the technology came from this thing called the active denial system, ADS. You can find this all over the internet, and the active denial system was created to make an invisible frequency fence to burn insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan. So what it looks like is a cell tower on a Humvee, and they turn this thing on, and it's got this invisible frequency that's a millimeter. And then if you come within range and you walk into this zone, the frequency absorbs and it hits right in your skin cells and your nerves, and it burns you. It feels like burning, and you fall down on the ground like it
basically burns you from the inside out, or at least feels like that.
Yeah, okay. Burns you from the inside out, like hits your nerves.
What is that called? Sorry.
The active denial system, ADS. So this is where this millimeter-sized wave technology came from. It's a weapon. It's weaponized technology. So they took that and they're like, okay, we're gonna tweak it so that it's not hitting the nerves, but we're gonna now put data on it and put it everywhere. But it absorbs still into everything, and it's a millimeter-sized carrier wave, but just not the exact same size and resonance where it hits your nerves and is actually a weapon. But that carrier wave at that size, I mean, that's as crazy as they can get, as far as I'm concerned. Like anything crazier would be like actually using real light waves. I mean, they can make smaller and smaller, waves, but this system to propagate a high band 5G system, to have this network in place, to really do it, it would take so much infrastructure and time and energy. And then you'd have your self-driving cars and automated automatons and all this stuff. Like anything more would just be branding.
Yeah.
6G, 10G, whatever.
So basically you, at this point, you're just like anybody who lives in a city is not going to do well in all of this. I can't imagine.
No. Yeah. No, I would be like, if I lived in the city, which I do not, I would be considering my options at this point. Most cities have these 5G small cells, like on every street corner, and then everyone has a mobile node in their pocket, which is a 5G phone. And I mean, I've experienced like the craziest stuff. So this is not, look, I'm not trying to sell my stuff. Let me just explain what's happened over the past couple of years. I have these phone bags, blackout phone bags. You put your phone in this blackout phone bag, you don't get any service. Like the phone is killed inside the bag. Doesn't ring, no text messages, anything. So I sold these phone bags like crazy because it's my company. And then right in March 2020, when everyone got locked down, the phones just got cranked up. All of them. Every last phone got cranked up, bro. And
what do you mean by cranked up?
They were had such a strong signal that they're all just ringing right through my phone bags. Every last one of them. Like people had all these phone bags where their phone is at their nightstand and won't ring through this phone bag. It's like a blackout bag,
Yeah.
They're made with like a layer of copper and silver or whatever. And then in nickel, people use nickel, whatever, but they stopped working. So I had to make them double layered. And
this is specifically March 2020 is when this.
Yeah, March 2020. And then they worked for like a year. And then when Omicron came out, no joke, they stopped working again, the double layered ones. So I had to improvise and make another triple layered one. And then those worked for a while. But now they have the smartphones literally ringing through the Wi-Fi routers.
Yeah.
They go through Wi-Fi routers now. So they don't have to go very far. So they're even stronger signals, shorter distance. And so I've had to I'm on version 5.0 of my phone bags because the phones just keep emitting more and more radiation, more than the industry had ever seen. No one ever thought that I'd have to make anything more than this. Like these people were making these phone bags for 20 years and they're fine up until March 2020. And then they just didn't even work. And I mean, I got screwed. I got this inventory of phone bags that don't work. Right?
But you've now changed them essentially to
5 times I've changed them. And now I have these phone bags that are 2 layers of this thick, soft copper.
Yeah.
Blended with nickel. So it's this copper nickel blend and a layer of this thick silver. So it's 3 layers, 3 metals.
And now
nothing's getting through and it now works. But it's I've been watching it happen. Yeah. And I would not want to be in a city during all this. They're all these phones, because what 5G is all the phones work together in this mesh system to push the signal to the cell tower. So it's so say there's a cell tower a mile away. Your 5G phone can only push the signal a few hundred feet to the next phone. And then they get all the signal from everyone around. They push it to the next phone and they just keep pushing it on and on and on until it can get to that cell tower. 4G, it just goes and finds the phone.
Right.
But it's not hammering everyone's stuff. That means everybody's data is going through your pocket.
Yeah.
Not just your data.
Kind of like how BlackBerry was. All right, we got a call. One second, please. Hello. Thanks for calling Low Value Mail.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, what's up? 1 second while I patch you through. And you are on with Matt, who is speaking.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Matt, this is Chris. What's going on, brother?
So, hi, Chris. Where you at?
I'm over here in California.
Cool. Where?
I'm over in Sacramento.
Sweet.
Our great capital of the great state of California. What I like to do is I call in every now and then because I hear a lot of researchers like yourself. I do a lot of esoteric and encoding on predictive programming numbers and things like that. And a thing about 5G that a lot of people overlook is what actually 5G looks like. So when you write out 5G, it looks like 5, 6, right? A G looks like 6.
Yeah, it could. I guess.
Okay.
A capital G. Matt's doing it, but a capital G.
When you see the 5G in a thing, it says 5G. It's always a capital G. So that's 56. And when we talk about the theys, I know Matt, you probably know a lot of the theys, but one of the big theys that I get into is always the Jesuit order.
Mm-hmm.
And Society of Jesus is the 56. When you write out Society of Jesus, it equals 56. Mm. When you write out mind control, it equals 56. So 5G ultimately is their end game for complete mind control. That's why a lot of it was implemented during coronavirus, which you want to guess what it equals, 56. Mm. So the 5G is like I said, I like to look at esoteric stuff. Here's another funny thing. Toilet paper equals 56 too. And what was the one thing that told us all to go get at the beginning? Literally toilet paper, mind control match up in all the ciphers. I mean, literally identical, all 4 of them, but I digress. So the days that I like to talk about is the Society of Jesus. So something you might want to look into is just seeing some of the esoteric stuff behind what they're doing. And 5G is the ultimate goal because 56 is their number. So this is here to stay. And whatever it's going to be doing, it's definitely nefarious.
So you don't think there's going to be a 6G crit? Like there's a 6G kind of, although I guess the 6G is then it's what, it's 66 and then I'm sure.
I truly don't think so because they spent so much money and time building all these 5G towers. So, I mean, eventually down the line, but the start of this whole thing, which all 5G really kicked off, during Corona, all this stuff just happens to line up perfectly. And just another thing real quick, Matt, do you know about Operation Popeye?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so Operation Popeye was the chemical geoengineering in Vietnam, which they were controlling the weather. And this is not even like conspiracy. I mean, you can literally look it up and see Operation Popeye. And so, I mean, they've been doing this and telling us they've been doing it forever. I mean, and the fact that they were controlling the monsoons. Here's another funny thing, which I do. 1967 is when Operation Popeye started. And a funny thing, the movie The Son of Godzilla came out in 67, and the plot is scientists controlling the weather, and they end up controlling the weather to kill one of the villains for Godzilla. And this comes out the same year that the military literally implements changing the weather to take out their enemies in Vietnam. So they predict the program, they do all this stuff, they let us know. They've been saying they've been controlling the weather since 52. I mean, CIA has documents on this stuff. So anyone who doesn't believe in this, it's just like you can just type in 2 or 3 things and you'll be able to see what they're up to. They don't even hide it.
Chris, I made a really good documentary, Frankenskies, and it goes over the Agent Orange and the flooding, the monsoon flooding of. And
the monsoons. Oh, awesome! Yeah, I'm definitely gonna peep, man. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, Frankenskies.com. It's a chronological historical timeline. So to go off what you were saying, yeah. Oh, so here's the deal. 5G is a millimeter sized carrier wave. So millimeters like this. So
right.
When you're a fetus in your mom's belly, I'm pretty sure like this is what they're targeting, like the little babies when they're this big, or maybe this
Absolutely.
is how big ovaries are, or like when you're developing, like this is the perfect size that'll absorb into us and wreak havoc on our little things that are 1 millimeter in size. And what are this size? Ovaries when they're developing, fetuses when they're developing. And I don't think 6G or anything else needs to do anything like this. Like when they can decimate the population and get everyone wigged out about, is anybody gonna live on? Then they can push this whole transhumanism agenda, which is like
right.
transfer your consciousness, and all that has to rely on 5G. Like you can't have this
Absolutely
transhumanism if there's not 5G, or singularity if there's not 5G. While I have you, Chris, I was tripping the other day on, I totally, like, this is my life, so I'm like in the sauna, just like thinking about this random nonsense, the world.
Yeah, I know how it goes, man.
And so what about Pride Month? So it's PRI, which you can break it, PRI, and I want to know the number, what that is, if you can do it for me. But PRI, and then demon, and then TH, like theta, or TH has a different words. But if you break down,
so you want to know what Pride Month would equal and what demon would equal?
No, just what Pride Month would equal. And have you ever broken down that word? Like, it's pretty fascinating if you break down.
I haven't. I mean, I obviously know what they're pushing in certain agendas. I definitely know that. I haven't really broken down.
Is it a 56? I want to know if it's a 56.
Can we find out? Can you do it quickly? Can you find out?
Okay, so
Pride Month's a 56. You don't have like a app?
It's not. It's not 56. Pride has a 52, and 52 has something, but I'm sure if you look into, like, I can tell you how they're doing with the transgender, though, because transgender equals 53. And anytime you see, like, Elliot Page came out on a day with 53, the first transgender person, celebrity, died on 3/5, born on 5/3. I mean, so anytime you see like a headline, like Dave Chappelle, when he was attacked on stage for his trans joke, was attacked on May 3rd, 5-3.
Interesting.
So anytime you see a 5-3, you're gonna see the transgender agenda right behind it.
Which is
I mean, literally everything.
It's all transhuman agenda, really. All this, like, let me be what I want to be, and all.
You think that's just kind of ushering in the slippery slope of just the transhumanism stuff?
Yeah, Elon Musk.
Yeah, do as thou will, Aleister Crowley. Of course, it's all going to come back to esoteric stuff, and transgender really breaks down to the Baphomet, which is the deity with both sexes that Aleister Crowley, a lot of the high level Satanists, that's their deity that they worship, they want. 201 is the big number with them as well. First there was 2 genders, now there's no genders, then there's gonna be 1 gender.
Mm-hmm.
Just like there was 2 towers, then there was no towers, then there was 1 tower. So, and today's actually the 201st day of the year, so let's see what happens. Or today leaves 201 days, so let's see what happens today. So yeah, I mean,
what do you mean what happens today? What's gonna happen today?
I mean, you never know. I mean
there's only like an hour. What do you mean? There's only like an hour and 40 minutes left.
You always say like it can't predict stuff. It can, because I just wanted to toot my own horn. I picked my horse this week who won the Belmont Stakes by the numbers.
Really?
That was a 10-1 long shot. So, of course, and I can tell you exactly why.
I mean, the
161st day of the year.
Yeah.
Trainer got his 161st win of the year. Boom. There's a 10-1, paid out big. Told everyone to get on it. So you can see things. You can see things that happen in the future, but their plan is so big, it's hard to just pinpoint. Yes, it's easier to look after the fact. But anytime I see like certain numbers, like talking about the trans agenda, I see a 53. I know it's by the numbers, and I know they're doing it for this confusion. Like I said, first there's 2 genders, then they say there's no genders, then it's going to come to 1 gender.
But Chris, why? It's witchcraft? Why do they do all this like cryptic new numbers thing? Because they're putting a spell on everyone?
It's spell. When you put words together, you're spelling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's in the words. Everything is in the words. And I mean, everything, math is everything. And I know people in the comments and the chats always get mad when I call in because they think it's a lot of horse horse manure, but it's everything. I mean, math is everything.
Chris, I enjoy your calls.
Just
for the record, I do enjoy.
No, I know, no, of course. So yeah, I don't want to take up too much time, but yes, it is ultimately spelling. Mm. You know, when you dig deep into the occult and the cabal and everything, that all this ancient Freemasonry, they all talk about this. You're talking about Bill Cooper, you know, Manly P. Hall. You know, all these people talked about exactly what I'm talking about. And this was a long time ago. Bill Cooper, not so long ago, but yeah, it's all esoteric knowledge that goes back to a time that we know nothing about. So something to look at with that 5G, brother. I'm definitely going to check out Frankenskies. 100%.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much. Speaking of
all right, Danny.
Cooper,
all right, Matt. Have a good one, brother.
Later.
See you. Speaking of the Jesuits and Bill Cooper, he wrote this book, Behold a Pale Horse, and you can't hardly find the version. It's like a few $100 on eBay. There's a version that has a chapter that was removed on the Jesuits. He breaks down all the stuff. He talks about there's going to be an alien invasion, fake one, to usher in a new world order. He talks about a lot of stuff in this book, but the real copies got scrubbed and they reprinted it.
Is there any kind of, I was meaning to ask this earlier, is there any kind of like chemtrail overlap with, we had this guy Flat Earth Dave on a couple months ago. Is there any sort of overlap there? Like, do any...
Well, truth is a frequency. All truths are equal. Like if you resonate with non-truths like lies, then you become foolable and you start to, you like, I think we're spiritual beings, right? I mean, I know we're spiritual beings. So here's the deal. Like, we're creator gods, basically. Like all of us are like in this like holographic reality where we are like creating this, we don't even realize it, but we're like the creators and we're being like tricked into creating our own demise, it seems, in this like holographic reality. So the deal is we can't come into our full powers, essentially, our fullest potential, like our spiritual destiny or whatever. We can't come into our full powers. There's like a backstop mechanism, because how could we be like creator gods if we're resonating with lies and falsehoods, right? So as we fully resonate with all truths and all truths are equal, then we can like start to resonate with higher truth and come into things like understanding of the Akashic and dismantling the ego and understanding the astral, because we have an astral body, and that astral body, once we learn how to control it and you know, transcend time and space.
Right.
But it's the real deal. So in the end, there's that, but like does one like prove the other or something like that?
I just meant like the overlap in the communities of them, because like the flat earth community is like, they have this app and like they have meetups and like they're very much like it's
they're hardcore. The chemtrail community is not as hardcore as the flat earth
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it doesn't seem like they have the
and we
same.
don't cross, like we don't have like hardcore meetups like that, and then we don't like have cross group meetups either. No.
yeah, like they're you're not united in the chemtrail community the same.
But I mean, if you're a flat earther, you're definitely on board with the chemtrails, I would say. If you're
right. But our chemtrails, are you on board with flat earth?
No, a lot of people will tell me that I'm if I talk about, oh, space is BS, or look at this, y'all, or we're not spinning, obviously, y'all, and all this stuff, people always say, Matt, you're taking away from the message, which is chemtrails are real. Right. And I'm like, no, we're all inclusive here. And I'm not going to just be the flat earther, and if I can put myself in that box, but I will, you know, bring the truth to people, which is NASA lies, y'all. Give me a break. And everyone needs to know that, you know, like I offered on my Facebook, so I got 70,000 followers on Facebook, and the other day I was like $1,000 to the first person, cash. Yeah. The first person that sends me a photo of Earth, one photograph. Should be easy, right? Had like hundreds of comments, but not.
Aren't there photographs though, or you're just saying those are?
No, they're CGI images, but there's not a photograph of Earth. Right. And you would think that in all the space trips and all the satellites and the Hubble Space Telescope and all this BS, that they would have snapped a photograph. But no, there's like computer composite imagery and all these things, but there's not a photo. There's no like the lies are so deep. And if you start to really grasp it and all the witchcraft that's going on, it's like, whoa, they really pull all that off. And like even just the Starbucks logo, like by consenting to that and sipping that little beverage, all these little slaves, mental slaves, are consenting to this like witchcraft. The Starbucks logo is like deep occult freaking witchcraft. You don't know that. You're just getting tricked. But why would they trick the people so bad? It's because they're that powerful, man. They have to have them all wrapped up and doing their bidding. And a lot of these other things that seem completely like crazy, they're actually more real than not, but we've been programmed to completely think it's just nuts. But yeah, no, there's no photos of Earth.
Huh. All right. Yeah. All right, you
$1,000 bucks.
$1,000. Anybody go over to his Facebook. If you have a photo of the Earth, $1,000. What do you need the photo to? Because there must be, I'm sure many people flooded your Facebook with photos of the Earth.
They send me pictures of dirt, and they're like, oh, there's the Earth, bro. I'm like, yo, I said from a picture of the full Earth from space, you know. Yeah. No, it's just got to be a photo.
But I'm saying nobody sent a photo of the Earth from space, like from the space station or any of that stuff?
Correct.
Nobody...
No, like the space station is like this little like BS. Like that's not the globe, the whole Earth. And there's no image of the whole Earth. There's BS computer composite photos that all look different, and they're all CGI, like animation, basically computer graphic imagery. There's not a single photo. Yeah, believe it or not, I challenge everyone out there. That's why the challenge exists, because it blows your mind.
Interesting.
Just saying.
All right,
don't kill the messenger.
You got to get out of here. Is that correct? It's 10:30.
Yeah, I got to split soon.
You got to split. Okay. Tell people where they can find you then, and we'll wrap this bad boy up.
Oh, well, that was a nice conversation, man.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fun chat.
And that was great. Cool. You got some cool callers, and that means that you're a cool person.
Thank you.
Because, you know, I have a website, Actual Activists, plural, and that's my baby. And I want to put your this show on there.
Absolutely, I'll send you the YouTube link. You're not really on. I tried to find some stuff for you on YouTube. You're kind of a go.
Totally
Did you get booted? Did you get booted off of there?
Yeah, I had an awesome channel, and my movie was all over the place. And come COVID, I got erased, boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not on Rumble or anything. Shout out to all the people watching on Rumble right now. Actually,
yeah, I'm all over the place. I've been on over 600 shows. I just did my 6th appearance on Coast to Coast. I'm on all the platforms, BitChute, Odyssey, all these things, TikTok, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on everything, but I do get freaking shadow banned and censored and all those good things. But please check out my websites, SPERO Gear, SpiroGear.com. On Instagram, I'm Actual Activists. On the website, actualactivists.com, Frankenskies.com. What am I missing? Frankenskies2.com, because I'm working on a sequel, Frankenskies 2 Climate Chains, like shackles. I'm going to go to London.
What about Frankenskies 2 Electric Boogaloo? Would you consider that as a title?
I'll keep it in the back. I appreciate that. I appreciate any ideas and feedback.
And so you're currently working on that?
Yeah, I'd like to come out with it next year.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
well,
so
you can maybe when it's out, you can come back on for your little press tour.
Yeah, that would be great. And please don't be a stranger. Email me if you like, frankenskies@gmail.com, Matt Landman on Facebook, and I'm out there if anybody wants to be a friend.
Cool. All right, Matt. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated. And we'll talk soon. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Danny. Have a nice night.
You too. Take care. All right, everybody. That was Matt. That was a fun show. By the way, shout out to Fran with the super chats. I didn't get a chance to. Unfortunately, Matt had to leave a little early, so we didn't get quite the full show. But we're gonna start up the after show. So the after show. Here's my little. I don't know if it's weird that this is an empty box. Doesn't matter. The after show. I'm gonna start the after show at 10:45. We're going to start it a little early just because we're done a little early. So head on over. The link is still on my channel. Head on over there. I'm going to fire up the link right when I get off right now. And then I will come on at 10:45. It's the after show. I'm going to be giving away some channel memberships. We're going to be watching some videos. We're going to hang. It's going to be the true low value mail copyright claim after show happy hour experience. Thanks very much, everybody, for joining me. As mentioned, there might be a bathhouse tomorrow. There might not. I don't know. It's not important though. I mean, it is important, but you know what I mean. You'll catch it. Just go over to the other link. I will see all of you there very shortly for the after show. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.
All my shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Bleep, blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5, got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up pressure on some flight shit. Ha. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, I'm pulling up pressure on some